All right, time for some sports stories, and we're going to try something a little different. Each attorney is going to have a shot at a single one of them. What that means politely is nobody jump in and turn this into a 10-minute conversation on Deflategate. All right, and that's where we'll start. Reports are the Pats, they could be suing the NFL over the penalties. Brady got 4-game suspension, team got fined $1 million, and will also lose 2 draft picks, including a first-rounder next year. All right, Jimmy. Do the Pats have a case here? I know it's not a court of law that the league handed down the penalties, but do they have a case to mitigate the penalties?
No, I don't think. I don't think they do. The original question was, would it have been different if they had acted differently? And quite frankly, I think the result could have been worse. One of the justifications for the penalties was that there was a lack of cooperation. In addition to the evidence of the deflating of the balls and the knowledge of it, there was a lack of cooperation. Would it have been different if they had cooperated? Would it have been different if they gave them access to this fellow McNally?
Now, this is PR, not law, but I would argue if in Super Bowl week Brady said, hey, listen, I told the guys over there, this is the way I like the footballs. If they took it to the nth degree and they were trying to make me happy, don't throw the guys under the bus. My bad here. Honestly, I just like it a certain thing. I like it right at the limit underneath. My bad. I think that would have deflated the tension that was around it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it would open Pandora's box. But I think it would have mitigated him to be able to say, I'll cooperate, I'll answer your questions. You're not getting my cell phone. That's got my personal information on it.
But we're not asking for your personal information. It's not what they asked for. They only asked for the text. They asked for access to McNally after they saw...
You wouldn't let your client do all that. You wouldn't let him turn over everything.
Well, no, let me tell you something. If he really had no knowledge, and if the texts were exculpatory, and if McNally, getting access to McNally would have helped, I happen to think that they would have given him access to McNally. Hey, you want my text?
You don't think the Pats
Here's
don't
my
have a
text,
text.
okay?
Right. Now let me get to football here. NFL's first overall draft pick this year, Jameis Winston, obviously a controversial figure out of Florida State. He is flipping the script a little bit on the woman who accused him of rape while they were co-eds at Florida State. The woman on your screen here, she right now has a civil suit against Mr. Winston after the criminal case was thrown out. Winston, though, he's going to actually... Susan, try and have a countersuit here. My question is, maybe he wants to make sure that there's no civil, now all of a sudden he's sitting on $30 million in guaranteed money or whatever it is with his contract. He don't want to lose the money, but could he also be opening himself here to a lot more exposure, and that all of a sudden now he's got to open the books, if you will, to his life?
I think that's a good possibility. It's first of all, in a civil lawsuit, counterclaiming is typical. Someone accuses you of something, you deny it, you accuse them of something. That's typical litigation practice. In this case, he has sued her, I believe, for defamation and injury to his good reputation. And so he then has to prove that. And he's going to have to prove that he has a good reputation, which opens the door to anything else that he's done in his life that is unsavory. Why would he do that? Because he may have taken...
he's got high-profile cases for the folks at home who don't know, beyond even this alleged sexual assault. There's high-profile cases where he's gotten in trouble or done certainly questionable behavior, from BB guns to stealing crab legs to shouting profane things in the middle of the cafeteria with hundreds of witnesses. So my point is, his character was in question by NFL teams even without the sexual assault. Why is he making that the threshold?
He stole crab legs?
Well, he may have made a strategic decision to go on the offensive. Not so surprising. But and it may come out, all of this stuff would probably come out anyway in the course of a trial.
Right.
If he testifies, which in a civil case he has to testify. He's going to be cross-examined about every bad, nasty, dirty thing he's done. So why not come out on the offensive or look like you're coming out on the offensive?
Interesting. Finally, we go from pro football to college football, now to baseball. Yankees, as you probably heard, They're not paying so far or agreeing to the $6 million milestone bonus for hitting 660. That's 660 home runs for A-Rod, and tying Willie Mays in the process, then breaking it just a few games ago. Now, if you look carefully at the contract language, Mayo, it looks like they have a strong case here. Reportedly, language says the Yankees have the sole right to decide whether the event in question is a marketable event, and since they didn't market this due to A-Rod's tainted history, they shouldn't have to pay up. The language seems to favor him, doesn't it? The Yankees.
It's a poorly drafted contract because you never want to give sole discretion, especially to the employer, because they're the ones who hold all the cards in the first place. And nobody in the world could debate that breaking Willie Mays' record is not a marketable moment. So whether the Yankees choose to try to market it is another issue. But sometimes contracts like that can be void for vagueness. Sometimes they can be void because they're unconscionable, in particular where it's such an unlevel playing field here. And it'll be interesting to see what happens if the Yankees continue to win and A-Rod has a banner year, if all of a sudden he's marketable and if maybe he wants to go elsewhere.
And there's more bonuses on the horizon here as he keeps moving up.
I mean, do either one of them care about $6 million?
Not at all.
If they were smart, they'd figure out a way to give this to charity here, both of them. But so far,
So
A-Rod,
true.
since he's come back, it's early, but he said all the right things and he hasn't screamed about this one. All right, head over to Facebook and Twitter and sound off on our question. Should the Yankees have to pay up that $6 million bonus to A-Rod and some of the other bonuses, as we said, that could be coming up as some of the milestones get passed? All right, when we come back, actress Sofia Vergara, you know, from Modern Family here. Well, she has feuded with her ex-fiancé over frozen embryos. He wants to keep them, even though the contract says he can't. He says he wants to preserve life. But the question is, where does the contract end and his rights begin?